War is no trivial matter. What people consider necessities become luxuries. Families are broken and cities fall. But time has changed our conception of war. With the modern influence of video games and Hollywood movies, war now seems like a thing of the past, a surreal vision unlikely to ever cast a shadow over our lives. Yet just over 50 years ago, the subject of war pervaded society and threatened the livelihoods of millions around the world. The United States has often resorted to conscripting soldiers in times of war. Also known as the draft, conscription by the United States during the Vietnam War was met with heavy opposition. As such, some protested the war by refusing to respond to the call of duty. These people escaped to many different countries such as Canada, and many never returned again despite being granted amnesty. Large groups of draft dodgers settled down in areas including Montreal, Toronto, and BC, particularly in the Slocan Valley. Our question is, what social class did most of these draft dodgers come from, and why? So how did the draft actually work? Basically, when a man was 18, he would be signed up for the draft and have a chance of getting picked for active duty when the country needed more soldiers. The draft process was supposed to be made fair by randomization, but in reality, it discriminated against lower-class African Americans. The selective service system grouped civilians into classes. Say, for example, if you had a job or were pursuing a college degree, you were more likely to be placed in a category to be deferred. While about 3.4% of Caucasian Americans were unemployed at the time, nearly double that amount of African Americans faced unemployment, and they were thus statistically more likely to be drafted for military service. Another important statistic is that blacks only made about 60% of the income that whites did on average during the 1960s, and in terms of education, far fewer blacks graduated from college relative to population. Though many draftees did not want to involve themselves in the war, they were legally obligated to do so. Those who were willing to give up everything they had in the United States, however, had to have the financial and educational resources to do so. It is no surprise, then, that most draft dodgers were middle-class Caucasian Americans who had those resources. A Caucasian with a college degree, for example, could at least find a job and survive outside of his country. Without a solid background and enough money, it would have been extremely difficult to start a new life in another country. Therefore, although many blacks did not believe in the war, they had no other alternative but to fight.